Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. I was grabbing another beer in the kitchen at our party. My wife, Sarah, was in the living room, her voice a little too loud after a few drinks. Seriously, girls? She slurred a bit. I don't need to work anymore. Mike here, he's my walking cash machine. Her laugh was sharp, followed by the giggling of her friends. I froze, the ice in my glass clinking like tiny alarms. 5 years married, all those extra hours at work, and this was it? This was how she saw me? I moved quietly behind the kitchen counter, hidden but able to hear. You've got it made, one of her friends said. My guy watches every penny I spend. Not mine, Sarah bragged. He's too busy at the office to notice. I just smile, give him what he wants at night, and the credit cards keep coming. More laughter, brittle and ugly. You should see the bag I bought last week. $5,000. He has no idea. I just hide the bills and tell him it's a cheap copy if he ever sees it. My gut twisted. That promotion last month, the one I'd worked myself sick for? She'd seemed so happy then. Now I knew why. More money for her to bleed. I took a breath, forced a smile, and went back to the party. Sarah instantly looped her arm around my waist, playing the loving wife. Her diamond bracelet, my anniversary gift that had cost me a fortune, glittered under the lights. There's my hard-working man, she purred, but the words felt like a knife now. I wasn't her partner. I was her bank. That night, after everyone left and she was passed out from the wine, I sat in our office, staring at our bank stuff. One thing after another jumped out. Money gone with no explanation. Charges at stores I'd never heard of. This had been going on for over a year, getting worse and worse, amounts that made my head spin. I found hidden receipts in her desk drawer. Fancy clothes, spa trips with friends she'd called work stuff, even jewelry I'd never seen her wear. The lies were huge. Then I found it. Loan papers with my name signed. Not by me. $30,000. Gone in 3 months. Dawn was breaking when I finally stopped looking. My eyes burned. I made 2 promises to myself. First, I wouldn't say anything yet. That would just give her time to cover her tracks. Second, I would get my life and my money back, no matter what it took. The guy who crawled into bed next to his sleeping wife as the sun came up wasn't the same idiot who'd hosted the party. As she snuggled against me for warmth, I felt nothing but a cold, hard resolve. The cash machine was broken. She just didn't know it yet. For the next 2 weeks, I became a detective in my own home. Every day, I acted like the clueless husband while quietly figuring out how deep her betrayal went. I started with our bank accounts going back 3 years. The picture was sickening. The first thing I found was a credit card I didn't even know existed. The bills went to a P.O. box, not our house. I got into the online account using her saved passwords. Over $90,000 in 18 months. Designer clothes, first-class plane tickets to weekend trips when I was away for work, fancy restaurants I'd never heard of. The second punch was a secret bank account. She'd been slowly moving money from our joint accounts, hoping small amounts wouldn't be noticed with our income. That account now had almost $40,000 money I'd earned. I met secretly with a money guy, someone our usual bank didn't know. In his quiet office, I laid it all out. This happens more than you think, he said, his face grim. But the forged loan? That's criminal. Have you talked to a lawyer? The next day, I met with a divorce lawyer a friend recommended. I brought copies of everything I'd found, keeping the original safe somewhere else. You've done amazing work documenting this, the lawyer said, looking through it all. Most people just have a feeling. You've given me exactly what I need to protect you. We spent hours planning, separating our money, protecting my stuff, getting ready for the fight. I learned about forensic accountants who could find any other hidden money. The lawyer told me to wait until we had the full picture before doing anything. Surprise is your best weapon right now, he advised. Once she knows, she'll hide things and move money where you can't get it. At home, I acted normal. I told her I liked her new dress, without asking the price. I put my paycheck in our joint account, knowing my upcoming bonus was going to a new account she didn't know about. I worked late, partly for my job, but mostly to keep up the act. She called me at work one afternoon, her voice sweet. Honey, I was thinking we could take a vacation next month. Just us. Somewhere tropical. You've been working so hard. That sounds perfect, I said, wondering if she'd already booked it on some secret card. Let's look at dates this weekend. That night, she greeted me in lingerie I'd never seen. Probably cost a fortune. As she wrapped her arms around my neck, I thought about the bank statements in my briefcase, showing she'd spent more on clothes last month than most people make in a year. I missed you today, she whispered, leading me to our bedroom. I followed, playing my part, while my mind calculated how much longer I needed to keep this up. 3 more weeks to find all the accounts, another 2 to move important things. Then I'd be ready. The cash machine wouldn't just close. It would take back every penny she'd stolen. My plan started with a simple phone call to HR. I said I was worried about identity theft and needed my direct deposit changed right away. 80% of my pay went to a new account she couldn't touch. I left just enough in our joint account so she wouldn't suspect anything, while slowly building my escape fund. Next was the credit freeze. After work one day, I went to all 3 credit places and locked my reports. If she tried to open any new cards or loans in my name, she'd hit a wall. The person who helped me looked worried when I explained someone had already forged my signature. "Do you want to file a police report?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. That time would come, but first I needed to secure myself. Phase 2 was getting back what I could. I talked to my lawyer about the forged loan papers. We sent legal letters to the banks, saying my signature wasn't real and asking for full investigations. While that was happening, I carefully wrote down every shared thing we owned, from the house to investments to the expensive art she'd insisted we needed. I learned divorce wasn't just about feelings. It was math. Every calculation brought me closer to being free. The hardest part was acting normal at home. I paid attention to little things so she wouldn't get suspicious. I still brought home small gifts. I asked about her day. I even said we could think about that vacation she kept mentioning, even though I knew it would never happen. 3 weeks into my plan, she made her first mistake. Over dinner, she casually mentioned redoing the kitchen. "I've been thinking about those Italian marble countertops we saw in that magazine," she said, swirling her wine. "They'd totally changed the space." "That sounds expensive," I said carefully. "What kind of budget did you have in mind?" Her laugh was dismissive. "Don't worry about that. You just got that big bonus. We can afford to live a little." "My bonus isn't going to be as big as expected," I lied, testing her. "The company had a rough quarter. We might need to hold off on big renovations." Her face changed, a flash of disappointment quickly hidden. "Well, we could always use the credit line on the house. Interest rates are so low right now, it would be silly not to. Let me look at our finances this weekend before we decide," I suggested. That night, I checked our home equity line of credit. She'd already been asking the bank about it. The next morning, I called them and added a password requirement for any withdrawals. The fight I'd been avoiding finally happened 3 days later. Her credit card was declined at some fancy store. She called me at work, her voice tight with anger. "There's some problem with the platinum card. They're saying we've hit the limit, which is ridiculous." "That's strange," I said, knowing exactly why. I'd stopped paying on her secret card once I confirmed it was opened illegally in my name. "I'll look into it tonight." When I got home, she was waiting, shopping bag still by the door. She'd obviously used another card. "What's going on with our accounts?" she demanded. "I called the bank myself, and they said you've made some changes. Just security measures," I said calmly. "After that data breach at my office, they recommended we all increase our financial protection." She studied my face, looking for any sign I was lying. Finding none, she seemed to relax a little. "Next time, tell me first." It was embarrassing having my card declined. "Of course," I agreed. "No one wants to feel like they have no money." The irony of my words hung in the air as her suspicion faded. I sent a text to my lawyer. Time to speed things up. She's starting to notice. Everything was in place. Every account locked down, every stolen thing documented, every lie recorded. The cash machine wasn't just stopped. It was ready to take back what was stolen. Sarah's behavior shifted slowly at first, like the first drops of rain before a storm. When her usual shopping became harder to pay for, she tried different tactics. The morning after the credit card thing, I woke up to the smell of my favorite breakfast. She'd made everything perfect, even squeezing fresh orange juice. "I thought you deserved something special," she said, sliding onto my lap as I ate. "You work so hard for us." Her fingers traced patterns on my neck, her smile practiced. I knew this game now. Physical affection before asking for money. I'd fallen for it countless times before. "This is perfect," I said, kissing her cheek before gently moving her off my lap. "Unfortunately, I have an early meeting. Can't be late." Confusion flickered across her face. This usually ended differently. Over the next week, her attempts at seduction got more obvious as her money troubles grew. Each time, I had a reasonable excuse to pull away. Each rejection added to her growing unease, even though she couldn't quite figure out what was wrong. 10 days later, she tried something else. I came home to find her crying on the couch, a perfect show of weakness. "My mother needs surgery," she sobbed, her timing perfect. "The insurance won't cover all of it. I don't know what to do." Before, I would have instantly offered to help, writing a check without question. Now, I sat beside her, offering comfort while asking for details. Which hospital? What kind of surgery? "Let me talk to the insurance company tomorrow." Her answers were vague, inconsistent. When I pushed for specifics, her fake tears vanished. "Why are you grilling me? My mother needs help, and you're acting like I'm making it up. I just want to make sure we're dealing with the real problem, I said calmly. Let's call her doctor together right now. It's too late to call, she snapped, then quickly softened her voice. I just need about 20,000 to help her. Can we transfer it tomorrow? Let's talk about it after we speak with her doctors, I insisted. She abruptly stopped crying, her face hardening before she stormed out of the room. The next morning, I called her mother directly, saying I was worried about her health. Her confusion confirmed my suspicions. There was no surgery, no emergency, just another lie to get money. The breaking point came 3 weeks later, during a dinner party with my work friends. I'd been carefully building witnesses to her behavior, and that night was the perfect chance. Several partners from my firm and their wives were at our house, an audience for what was about to happen. As the evening went on and the wine flowed, her true self started to show. One of my colleagues mentioned their upcoming anniversary trip, carefully planned on a reasonable budget. Sarah laughed loudly. Why limit yourselves? That's what husbands are for, funding the lifestyle you deserve. She draped herself across my shoulders. Right, honey? You never say no to me. The room went quiet. My colleague's wife looked embarrassed for me. Actually, I said calmly, we've been reassessing our spending lately. Being responsible with money is important in a partnership. Her eyes narrowed. Since when do you care about budgets? You've never questioned my spending before. Maybe I should have, I replied, keeping my voice even. Don't be ridiculous, she snapped, her voice getting louder. Your job is to make money, and mine is to enjoy it. That's our arrangement. Several guests shifted uncomfortably. My colleague, who happened to be a witness in the papers my lawyer was preparing, caught my eye with a look of understanding. I don't think that's an arrangement I ever agreed to, I said quietly. Please, she scoffed, too drunk to realize the danger in what she was saying. You've been my personal ATM since we got married. It's why I chose you over the others, stable, hardworking, and completely clueless about price tags. The silence that followed was deafening. She finally realized what she'd said and tried to laugh it off as a joke, but the damage was done. The witnesses I needed had heard everything straight from her mouth. Later that night, after our guests had awkwardly left, she tried to smooth things over. I was just teasing, you know? I value you for more than money. I simply nodded, already composing the email I would send to my lawyer in the morning. We have the witnesses. It's time. The cash machine was officially closed for business. 3 days after the disastrous dinner party, I met with my legal team to finalize everything. The forensic accountant had finished her work, uncovering 2 more credit cards and an offshore account I hadn't known about. The total amount she'd taken was over $500,000, systematically drained from our shared money. The evidence is solid, my lawyer confirmed. The witness statements from your colleagues back up the pattern of financial abuse. We're ready when you are. I signed the final papers and set the date for the confrontation. There would be no dramatic courtroom scene, no public spectacle. This would end quietly, in our home, just between us. For the next week, I kept up the act while putting the final pieces in place. I found a new apartment, changed my mailing address, and quietly moved irreplaceable personal things to a storage unit. I took exactly half of our joint savings account, not a penny more. Despite everything she'd taken, I wouldn't become like her. On the chosen evening, I had her favorite meal delivered from the fancy restaurant where we'd had our first date. I set the dining table with our best china, crystal glasses, and tall candles. It looked like a romantic anniversary celebration. She came home to soft music and the beautifully set table. Her face showed real surprise, followed by a calculating look. This unexpected romance must mean I can ask for something. What's the occasion? She asked, wrapping her arms around my waist. 5 years of marriage deserves acknowledgement, I replied. Her smile widened. Maybe he's forgotten what I said at the party. Maybe the cash machine is working again. We ate our meal, the conversation surprisingly pleasant. She told funny stories about her friends, carefully avoiding any mention of shopping or money. I asked questions and laughed at the right times. Anyone watching would have seen a happy couple. After dessert, I poured her another glass of wine and reached under my chair for a wrapped box. Her eyes lit up with greed. You shouldn't have, she said, the practiced line betrayed by her eagerness as she tore at the paper. Inside was a leather portfolio with her initials. Confusion crossed her face as she opened it and found a stack of documents. What is this? She asked, her voice suddenly wary. Everything, I replied simply. Bank statements showing transfers to your secret account. Credit card bills for cards I never knew existed. Loan documents with my forged signature. Witness statements about you calling me your personal ATM. And divorce papers waiting for your signature. Her face went white as she flipped through the carefully organized proof of her betrayal. Each tab, each highlighted section, each signed statement screamed the same thing. I know everything. This is ridiculous, she finally sputtered. You're overreacting to a stupid joke. I was drunk at the dinner party. You can't possibly. It's already done, I interrupted calmly. Your access to our joint accounts ended this morning. The credit cards are canceled. The home equity line is frozen. I've paid off your personal credit card bills one last time as a courtesy. You can't do this to me. Anger replaced shock as she stood up, knocking over her wine glass. Red liquid spread across the white tablecloth like blood. Everything we have is joint property. You can't just cut me off. Actually, I can, I explained, especially with documented fraud involved. The judge who reviewed the evidence was particularly interested in the forged loan applications. You have two choices. Sign the divorce agreement, which offers a fair split of what's actually ours, or face potential criminal charges for the fraud. You wouldn't dare, she whispered, but the confidence in her voice was gone, replaced by fear. The police report is already drafted, I said, tapping another section of the portfolio. My lawyer will file it tomorrow unless we reach an agreement tonight. She collapsed back into her chair, mascara-stained tears finally appearing. Not from real sadness, I noted, but from the shock of finally facing consequences. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Her voice had lost its manipulative sweetness, replaced by the raw fear of a future without my money. That's entirely up to you, I replied, standing to leave. But for the first time since we met, it won't be my problem to solve. I picked up my packed suitcase from the hallway and walked out the door without looking back. The weight of 5 years of being used lifted with each step. The cash machine wasn't just closed. It had permanently shut down and moved to an address she would never find. 6 months passed with the clean efficiency of a signed contract. The divorce was surprisingly quick, mostly because of the overwhelming evidence and her fear of fraud charges. She agreed to the settlement after 1 week attempt to fight it, her new lawyer clearly advising her against it. My new apartment overlooked the city park, its simple style reflecting my changed view of possessions. Everything I owned now had a purpose, not just a price tag. The fancy furniture and expensive art stayed with the house, her consolation prize. I kept only what mattered. Family photos, books that had shaped me, and the watch my grandfather gave me. My financial life slowly recovered. The banks reversed the fraudulent loans. My credit score, damaged by her actions, started to climb back. The retirement accounts were split fairly. Most importantly, I had my freedom back. No more working endless hours for someone else's greed. No more ignoring red flags to keep a broken peace. My time, my money, my future were mine again. I was looking over work papers at a cafe when someone approached my table. I looked up and saw the husband of one of Sarah's closest friends. Mind if I join you? He asked, holding a coffee cup. I nodded to the empty chair. We made small talk for a moment before he got to the point. I heard what happened, he said carefully. My wife told me some things after she helped Sarah move to that smaller place. How's she doing? He asked, more out of politeness than real concern. He smiled grimly. Not great. Apparently, her credit card applications keep getting turned down. Something about recent fraud alerts. He watched my face for a reaction, but I gave him nothing. She's been telling everyone you left her with nothing, but my wife accidentally saw some bank papers. The settlement was more than fair. The court thought so too, I said simply. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. Here's what I really wanted to say. Thank you. After what happened with you two, my wife and I had some serious talks about money. For the first time, he shook his head. I found similar things, not as bad, but heading that way. We're in counseling now. I wasn't surprised. Her friends had always seemed to share her view of marriage as a financial arrangement. Their laughter at that party still echoed in my mind. I hope it works out for you, I said sincerely. There's one more thing you should know, he added as he stood up. She's dating again, specifically going after executives and doctors. At a dinner last month, she actually joked about finding her next. He hesitated. Cash machine, I guess. He nodded uncomfortably. Some people never learn. After he left, I sat thinking. There was a time when knowing she'd moved on so quickly would have hurt. Now, I just felt a distant pity mixed with relief that I'd gotten out before the damage was permanent. That evening, I got an email confirming my spot on the mountaineering expedition I dreamed about for years. An adventure always dismissed as too risky and a waste of money during my marriage. The fee had been paid from my own account. No need to explain it to anyone. As I confirmed my participation, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was her, breaking the no-contact agreement. The house needs repairs. I can't afford. The lawyer says you're not obligated, but after everything we shared, couldn't you help just this once? I deleted the message without replying and blocked the number. There was a time when guilt would have made me rescue her. But that man was gone. The cash machine hadn't just closed. It had been permanently decommissioned and replaced with something far more valuable. A human being who knew his worth couldn't be measured in dollars and cents. Some might see my story as revenge, but I see it as recovery. Recovery of my finances, yes, but more importantly, of my dignity. The biggest withdrawal I ever made wasn't of money, but of myself from a transaction disguised as a relationship. And that, unlike any financial investment, has paid dividends beyond measure. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.